Command, this is Hollow Promise. We are not in a position to disengage, requesting immediate backup.
Copy, Hollow Promise. Backup inbound. Hold the line.
The distress call reached the Silit Dominion outpost at Kryvos Station 3 hours before the humans arrived, and by then it was already too late to matter. Hive Queen Veskera Thal stood on the observation deck, her amber eyes fixed on the tactical display, watching reds multiply where there should have been none. Her chitinous mandibles clicked together in a rhythm her officers had learned to fear. "They called for backup," said Commander Draith, her second-in-command, voice tight through the translator collar. "One ship. A single human ship, and it called for backup." "Then we destroy the backup before it arrives," Veskera said. "The humans are soft. Their bodies fail in vacuum. Their minds fracture under pressure. This is a courtesy execution, nothing more." She believed it. Every commander in the Dominion believed it, because for 200 years the galaxy had whispered the same warning about humanity and been proven right by nothing at all. Soft. Slow. Sentimental. The first human ship, a battered corvette called the Hollow Promise, had already lost 2 engines and was venting atmosphere from a hull breach on Deck 4. Sergeant Elena Voss stood in that breach with a patch kit in one hand and a sidearm in the other, blood crusting along her jaw from where a support strut had caught her during the last volley. "Command, this is Hollow Promise," she said into her comm, voice steady despite the klaxons. "We are not in a position to disengage. Requesting immediate backup." Static answered her. Then faint. "Copy, Hollow Promise. Backup inbound. Hold the line." Corporal Daniel Reyes crouched beside her, welding torch in hand, sealing the breach 1 centimeter at a time. "How long do we hold?" "As long as it takes," Voss said. "That's the job." Reyes laughed, short and humorless, sparks scattering off his visor. 2 years in this uniform, and I still don't know why we don't just surrender when the math looks like this." "Because the math isn't the whole equation," Voss said, pressing the patch flat against the hull. "Somewhere back home, a fleet just got a message with our names on it. They're already moving. All we have to do is not die before they get here." "That's not bravery, Reyes. That's just math too, a different kind." He didn't answer, but he welded faster. Outside, 3 Silit cruisers closed formation, confident, unhurried. Veskera watched the human corvette bleed light and heat into the dark and felt something close to pity. She had read the human files, their wars and their occasional, inexplicable kindness to strangers. None of it explained why this crew had not simply surrendered. "Cut their comms," she ordered. "Let them die quietly." But the comms would not cut. Something in the corvette's system kept rerouting the signal, kept broadcasting one repeated phrase across every frequency the Dominion ships carried. "Backup inbound. Hold the line." 3 hours later, the Dominion sensor officer screamed. Not shouted, screamed, because what appeared on the long-range scope should not have been possible. Not 1 ship. Not 10. A wall of light unfolding out of the dark, hundreds of vessels dropping out of faster-than-light in perfect, silent formation, weapons cold, shields down, because they did not need them yet. "Identify," Veskera snapped, mandibles clicking hard enough to crack. "Human," the sensor officer said. "All human. 6th Fleet. Designation, Ghost Company." Veskera had heard the name once, in a briefing she dismissed as propaganda. Ghost Company was the answer humanity gave when diplomacy failed and patience ran out. Not a fleet built to conquer, built to arrive, and make sure nothing that threatened its people arrived anywhere again. The lead vessel opened a channel. On the Dominion bridge, an image resolved. Not a soldier, but an old man in a plain gray uniform, hands folded on a steel desk, the way a teacher sits before delivering disappointing news. "This is Fleet Admiral Corvinash," he said. "You are firing on a stranded vessel carrying 2 of my people. I am going to ask you once to disengage and withdraw to the edge of this system. After that, I stop asking." Veskera laughed, a dry, clattering sound. 2 soldiers. You brought a fleet for 2 soldiers. The Admiral's expression did not change. We don't leave anyone behind. That's not sentiment, Hive Queen. That's the whole reason we're dangerous. A species that abandons its own has a ceiling on what it will risk. We don't have one. The Silit cruisers opened fire first. It was the last mistake any of them made. Ghost Company did not roar into battle. It simply ended one, methodically, the way a tide erases footprints, shields collapsing, weapons silenced, engines disabled but hulls left intact, because Ash had given one order before the first shot. No unnecessary deaths. Aboard the Hollow Promise, Elena Voss watched the wall of human ships fill her viewport and felt the tension leave her shoulders for the first time in 3 hours. Told you, she said to Reyes, grinning through the blood on her face. Back up. On Crivos Station, Veskera Thal stood alone as her fleet's wreckage drifted past the viewport, and understood at last what her intelligence files had never captured. Humanity's monsters were not born of cruelty. They were born of love for each other, stubborn and absolute, and love, weaponized and given a fleet, was the most terrifying force in the galaxy. She surrendered before he had to make good on that warning. 3 days later, a formal treaty was signed. The Dominion withdrew from 4 contested systems without another shot fired, and in every briefing room from Crivos to the Dominion capital, a new lesson was taught to every young officer. Never mistake a human's patience for weakness, and never make them call for backup. Aboard the repaired Hollow Promise, Voss stood at the breach she had welded shut 3 days earlier, now sealed clean and strong, and watched the human fleet begin its slow withdrawal. Reyes came to stand beside her, 2 mugs of recycled coffee in hand, and passed one over without a word. You were right, he said, about the math. I'm always right about the math, Voss said. It's the only thing that doesn't lie to you out here. Far across the system, Admiral Ash watched the same withdrawal from his own bridge, hands folded on his steel desk, and said nothing about the 2 soldiers he had crossed half a galaxy to save. He didn't need to. Every ship in Ghost Company already understood the only rule that mattered. Because when humanity answers that call, it does not send soldiers. It sends everyone.